Have you ever thought running slower might not always be the answer? We've all heard it, haven't we? The age-old advice that running slower is the magical key to unlocking our running prowess. It's as if the world has come to a consensus that slower equals better. Now don't get me wrong, I'm all for a nice leisurely jog, but this belief has been taken to a whole new level. Imagine believing that eating your food slower will suddenly transform you into a Michelin star chef. Sounds absurd, right? It's as if we're saying, hey, why don't you try walking your way to work slower? Maybe you'll become a better driver. Or perhaps, try typing slower, you might just write the next best-selling novel. It's kind of like believing you'll become a world-renowned artist just by staring longer at a blank canvas. Or maybe if I just look at this pile of Lego bricks for a little longer, I'll suddenly become an architect. Now don't get me wrong, running slower does have its benefits. It can help you build endurance, improve your aerobic capacity, and even give you the mental fortitude to keep going when the going gets tough. But to say that running slower is always the best way to improve your running performance, well, that's where we need to take a step back, or should I say a stride back. Just like anything in life, balance is key. Yes, running slower can help, but it's not the be-all and end-all. It's just a piece in the puzzle of becoming a better runner. So next time you lace up those running shoes, remember it's not about how slow you can go, but how well you can balance your speed with your endurance, your strength with your flexibility, and your passion with your pragmatism. But what if I told you that running slower isn't always the answer? Let's meet John, a runner who believed that slow and steady wins the race. John was a creature of habit. He laced up his running shoes every morning, rain or shine, and hit the pavement with a resolve that could move mountains. Yet, unlike the mountain movers of lore, John believed in taking it slow. His philosophy was simple, slow and steady. He thought that by maintaining a comfortable pace he would build endurance, enhance his running technique, and ultimately improve his performance. This belief steered his running journey, guiding each stride he took. Every day, John would run the same 5-mile circuit at a steady pace. No sprinting, no racing, just a slow, rhythmic dance with the road beneath his feet. He imagined himself as a tortoise in the famous fable, convinced that he would ultimately triumph over the fast and the furious hares of the running world. However, despite his unwavering dedication and the countless hours spent pounding the pavement, John's performance hit a plateau. His running time stagnated, and his hopes of seeing continual improvement began to fade. He was running the same distance, at the same pace, but his performance wasn't getting any better. He couldn't understand it. He was following the advice of countless running gurus who advocated for slower running. He was putting in the time, the miles, and the sweat, but the results eluded him. His slow and steady strategy, it seemed, was not leading him to the finish line as quickly as he'd hoped. John started to question his approach. Had he misunderstood the concept of slow running? Was there a flaw in his training regimen? Or perhaps the problem lay not with his methods, but with the underlying premise that slower running was the key to improved performance. He was left pondering these questions, his confidence shaken. The road ahead seemed uncertain, and for the first time in his running journey, John felt lost. John was left wondering why his slow running strategy wasn't paying off. So what was John doing wrong? It all comes down to the science behind running. Let's start with the basics. When you run, your body is primarily operating in one of two modes, aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic exercise is when your body has enough oxygen to fuel your muscles. This is usually during low to moderate intensity exercise, like a leisurely jog or a steady long-distance run. Your heart rate is under control, your breathing is regular, and you could probably hold a conversation if you wanted to. On the other hand, anaerobic exercise is when your body doesn't have enough oxygen to fuel your muscles, so it begins to break down glucose for energy instead. This happens during high-intensity exercise like sprinting or running uphill. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing becomes heavy, and talking? Forget about it. Now, running at different speeds isn't just about changing scenery faster or slower. It's also about improving different aspects of your fitness and running performance. Slow, steady runs build your aerobic base, improving your body's ability to use oxygen efficiently and increasing your endurance. They also help to build slow-twitch muscle fibers, which are key for long-distance running. On the flip side, fast, intense runs work your anaerobic system, improving your body's ability to operate without sufficient oxygen and increasing your speed. They also help to build fast-twitch muscle fibers, which are key for sprinting and quick bursts of speed. So while slow runs are great for building endurance and preparing for long races, fast runs are essential for increasing speed and preparing for shorter, more intense races. The trick is to find the right balance between the two, and John? Well, he was doing too much of the former and not enough of the latter. He was building endurance, sure, but he was neglecting his speed and power. Thus, his performance was plateauing. So it turns out that running slower isn't always the best strategy. Armed with this new knowledge, John decided to change his running strategy. He realized that his one-pace-fits-all approach was not doing him any favors. So he decided to shake things up a bit, and boy did he shake. John started to incorporate different speeds into his running routine. Some days, he would focus on long, slow runs, enjoying the rhythm of his feet hitting the pavement. Other days, he'd switch gears and practice sprinting, pushing his body to its limits. He also mixed in some interval training, alternating between high-intensity sprints and slower recovery periods. This way, he was not only working on his endurance, but also improving his body's ability to recover faster. Then, there were his hill workouts. John used to dread hills, but now he saw them as an opportunity. He'd power up those inclines, using them to build strength and resilience. And when it was time to go downhill, he'd let gravity do its thing, focusing on maintaining a good form and saving his energy. And guess what happened? John began to see improvements in his performance. His running times got better. He was able to run longer distances without feeling exhausted. His recovery times improved. He even noticed that he was sleeping better and had more energy throughout the day. But perhaps the most significant change was in John's mindset. He started to see running not as a chore, but as an adventure. Each run was a chance to challenge himself, to see what he was capable of, and with each stride he was becoming a stronger, more confident runner. John's story is a reminder that while slower running has its place, it's not the be-all and end-all. It's about balance, about listening to your body and pushing it in the right ways. It's about embracing the challenge and enjoying the journey. John finally realized that running slower wasn't always the answer. So, what can we learn from John's story? Well, there's a bit to unpack here, isn't there? We've all been there, pounding the pavement in our neon running shoes, thinking that taking it slow and steady would win the race. But as our buddy John has shown us, that's not always the case. You see, the myth of slower running is just that. A myth. It's like the Loch Ness monster of the running world, often talked about, seldom seen, and frankly, a little suspicious. We've dived deep into the science behind running, and it's clear that varying your speed is the key to unlocking your full potential. Imagine running as a music playlist. If you only listen to one song on repeat, you'd probably get pretty bored, right? The same goes for your running pace. Mixing it up, a bit of slow, a bit of fast, and a bit in between is like hitting shuffle on your favorite playlist. It keeps things interesting, and your body will thank you for it. Our friend John discovered this the hard way. His slow and steady strategy wasn't getting him the results he wanted, but instead of throwing in the towel, he decided to switch things up. He added some fast runs, some moderate runs, and voila! He started seeing improvements. So, the moral of the story is, don't be like the pre-enlightened John stuck in the slow lane. Vary your running speed, challenge yourself, and you'll start seeing those results you've been after. And remember, running isn't just about speed. It's about enjoying the journey, feeling the wind in your hair, and the thrill of crossing that finish line. So next time you go for a run, remember, running slower isn't always the answer. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more running content.